Some careers are impressive, some are consistent, and then there are a few that are built deliberately across countries, across cycles, across decades. Dr. Shailesh J. Mehta has led at scale, built in finance, served on boards, invested in businesses, and continued to invest in education, including at his alma mater, Case Western Reserve University. So today is not a highlight reel, it's a thinking session. If you are an MBA student, this one's for you. If you're building a company, this one's for you. And if you care about long term impact, this is 100% your episode. Dr. Mehta, I want to understand how your mind works, not just what you've achieved. But let me start by saying I'm so very grateful that you made time on your calendar and can't wait to record the episode.
Uh, Thank you very much. And I'm both honored and flattered for being invited here. You might be over rating my accomplishments, but let's begin. I'm here not to advise. I'm here to share my experiences, which are more valuable as the world changes. I learn from young people too, so I don't have monopoly on advising. Okay.
Alrighty, let's get started. Now, as I'm starting, I don't want to go too far back, but I'm curious about one thing, which is in your early years, what gave you that edge? Was it discipline? Was it curiosity or competitiveness?
I think throughout I mean, earlier, I don't know which phase you want to begin, whether
Let's go
uh,
really back from the very start.
from very start. I just had a knack for, or I mean, I would say knack for, but I've always been a perfectionist. So to
Hmm.
me, anything I like to do it to the utmost perfections, which it itself creates an execution excellence.
Yeah.
And it's one of the critical trait that helped me throughout, whether in schools, in elementary schools or high schools or college, or in business, or in investments. But I always had a passion to do it. Even people surrounding me are sometimes says that I'm, obnoxiously perfect.
Okay.
They think, I mean, I'm walking and if I see a little, I mean, cleanliness, like I see a little particle on the floor, I pick it up. I like
Hmm.
absolutely clean. So idea is the number one trait that I thought would help me was whatever I undertake, I execute with a total flawlessness. That's the attempt I make.
All right, okay. Because as I said, how you behave in one part of your life reflects all the decisions and all your performances across. So, very nicely, as you've put, and I'm sure everyone who's listening will also kind of embed that and try to follow it. All right,
Mhm.
moving on. Did you always think long term or did that mindset develop over time? Because moving countries and building at scale doesn't just happen without intention, there's a lot that goes behind it.
So anytime you invest, you want to invest with patience.
Hmm.
So short term, long term is more to do with, I would say, how much you are impressed with the business model
Okay.
and how much, many people look at numbers. Let's
Hmm.
just put it slightly, and anybody can produce a very good Excel spreadsheet,
Hmm.
and projections. Human normally tend to be optimist. I tend to be a little bit pessimist when I invest. In other
Okay.
words, I try to see what could go wrong rather than what everything is going to go right. And there is a art in it and science in it. And I'll elaborate a little bit, but I don't want to take a long-winded answer to this question, but it is a deep question. Number one criteria I choose in investing in business, actually, I think I'm investing in people.
Okay.
The person who I invest, I mean, if I invest in a person, I'm absolutely comfortable to stay long term,
Hmm.
to start with. Now, how can you read a person? It's very difficult, but it's easier to, as your time goes, you pick up the traits.
Hmm.
Simple little observations. As I said, perfection is timely, like timeliness. Is people show up on time or not? People
Okay.
keep their word or not?
Okay.
If you say we're meet at 9:30, we're at 9:30.
Yeah.
Okay. And people come at 9:45 and discuss about why all projects are late, you know.
Hmm.
So this little minute observation power gives me the trait of a person. Second thing is this person willing to pivot and learn from the
Okay.
data. Nobody can see future as clearly, and farther you go, more foggy it is. But what I can see is that as the picture becomes clear, is the data is a future, that you get feedback from your investment. You read your data and you pivot, configure your business model to, so you're passionate, but not missionary, if you
Hmm.
ask. So you don't have a mission as much as your passion. So there's a subtle difference between the two. So my thesis on investment is if the person is right, learn from the feedback from the real world implementation of business models or business, willing to pivot appropriately, then I'm committed to long term, even if there are adversity in the
Okay.
business. On the other hand, even if he's showing or she is showing numbers,
Hmm.
but I find that how much of it is tailwind
Hmm.
and how much of it is environmental benefit, then I opportunistically exit.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing all the nuggets of wisdom early on. I can totally feel like this is going to be such an enriching episode for a lot of people. So can't wait to peel different layers. I'm going to take you to the second section where we're going to touch upon the intersection of US, India, and the strategic choices that you've made over the years. Here we go with the first question, which is when you moved to the United States, what were you optimizing for? Was it opportunity? Was it exposure? Or was it scale?
I think I moved to United States because I saw the structural negatives or structural obstacles built in the
Okay.
Indian economy at the
Hmm.
time, where meritocracy was not rewarded as much as, structurally you are part of a system. Okay. So for example, India did not allow, and it was the way structure was created by the oligarchs in India, that, we should not allow stock options to people. They never wanted to share equity, no matter how much you went build wealth for someone. Whereas in US, they said that if you're a wealth builder, you should partake in that wealth.
Hmm.
Hiring an IIT graduate at the time when I graduated from Bombay IIT in 1971, you
Hmm.
know, and that also, one of the top in the class. And I was offered like 1,100 rupees salary monthly, of
Hmm.
which they were going to deduct tax, and I was going to get 830 rupees. Okay.
Okay.
But no stock option, nothing. No, and with that, all the hard work, learning, and problem solving I learned, its value was less than someone, selling kirana, for example.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I
I
mean,
think, Indian structure was made for small entrepreneurs, but not or very rich, super rich people, where the people satisfied with a decent compensation, decent corporate benefits, but never unlimited. I would say unlimited, maybe a little bit exaggeration, but wealth creation.
hmm.
Whereas in US, very first time I got the job, immediately I got stock options.
Hmm.
So I'm building the wealth and I'm also getting benefit out of it.
Hmm.
So one of the main reason for me is that my knowledge, expertise, and skills and hard work, will I be properly rewarded here? Because of the structurally is create. In US, let me tell you, there was a time I was making more than my boss. In
Okay.
India, yes. In India, it's impossible to think about.
Yeah.
Okay. And the boss made it purposefully low salary so everybody else gets paid low. Okay.
Oh,
So
wow. Okay.
So what they did, they said that the MD of the company's salary should be approved by government, and government they own the government. So government says your salary will be low. So when you are much smarter than MD or
Hmm.
10 times smarter than MD's idiot son, your salary would be less. So
Hmm.
it's a very he is enjoying car benefits, free vacations, half the time, all the benefits he's enjoying, and he's keeping purposefully salary low. So I don't get paid high. So, well, how can you think about making more than MD?
Hmm.
I'm smarter than MD and I'm creating more wealth. So
Hmm.
I have a little bit of logical difficulty
Hmm.
staying in India. And I said, might as well go where my talent and hard work will be properly rewarded and appreciated. And there
Hmm.
is no ego in the realm of intellect.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Very answered.
yeah.
Tell us, what did operating in the US teach you about risk capacity? We spoke about
Sorry.
systems, but I want to know more about how did operating in the US mold or fine tuned your risk taking ability?
Oh, yes. But a lot of things I learned in US, and I'm glad I came across in my early career, whether at case, my professors, or whether in my early career in working in corporate world. The first thing is the failure was not considered a stigma.
Hmm.
So if you take a risk, there is a probability you may fail. It should be considered another MBA rather than a stigma.
Got it.
Uh, So your risk-taking ability is okay. You took a risk and you went wrong. That doesn't mean you are bad or you don't have the ability or you don't have the skills. Sometimes for reasons your business idea fails.
Hmm.
And as long as you gave your best,
Hmm.
okay, and as long as you learn from what that failure,
Yeah.
you're ready for the next risk taking.
Yeah.
Many US successful company founder even today you may find they had early many failures before
Hmm.
they built the huge companies. So failure in US, I learned early stage, in early life of my career, is okay. You took a risk. Now, you should not be taking what I call risk without understanding all the nuances.
Hmm.
So it shouldn't be gambling type risk. You
Yeah.
know, you should be well thought out, well approached, well analyzed, and you took a risk. Now, so that is one thing that I said, I don't want to lose my self-confidence because my idea did not work out. Okay, I'll try again. Okay, because I'm sure eventually I'll be successful. Uh, that helped me to take risk. I took risk. Give you simple one quick example
Yes.
that when I started my career in the largest bank in Ohio at the time, we were in Cleveland, as you know, Case, and the company at the time was known the Cleveland Trust Company. Today it is known as a Key Corp. And they had a situation where one of their IT software company arbitrarily increased price and structural problem, and it became a crisis in the company. And I was a very junior person in quote unquote, and but I was well respected. That like anything difficult problem, give it to Mehta kind of an attitude in the bank operations and system. And our CEO and our vice chairman and my boss all were worried that what we're going to do, we have 6 months to replace this complex credit card system with a new software, and we can build it in-house. And so they said, what do we do? It's a call Meta. And they called me, said that, can you take this project? And I thought it was a very challenging project. And I said, yes. And he says, but we need to finish in 80 days. Okay. And 6 months up and running in production. And I said, yes. Now that was a stupid risk, by the way, but I took it.
I want to stop you for a moment if I have your permission. I want to know, it was a big task.
It
What
was a
in
huge.
you, what in you actually gave you the chance or the ability to say that yes, I'm going to figure it out and I'll give you an answer. I'll work on this. Weren't you scared at that point in time?
So what was happened that obviously I said that somewhere else there are software vendors who are selling this product. So what I will do, I'll buy from ready-made product from a software vendor and install it in our bank operations. And I said, if you buy a software package and put it in, it should not take very long being an IIT engineer. And all you have to do is build the interfaces of the other system. But the main software will work. So that was the uh, understanding I had when I took that risk. It wasn't like crazy yes. Okay, so I knew a company in Omaha, and they were well. Actually, it was owned by American Express at the
Okay.
time.
Okay.
Well, First Data Resource, if I remember. And I said, their software package, 30 banks are using. So if it's
Hmm.
working for 30 banks, it will work for 31 bank. That
Hmm.
was like a whole bank. So that gave me the confidence to take the risk.
Hmm.
Now, that was not the real risk. Real risk was changing the culture
Hmm.
of people adapting the new software.
Hmm.
So all like for example, the collection guy said, I'm used to see my collection report this way. I said, no, we're going to keep the software package untouched. We're going to change the entire environment to fit that software package's need. And
Hmm.
you are able to relearn how to get your collection report and read it, or how the customer statement will be produced, and you have to teach your customer
Hmm.
that the new statement format rather than change the software to give the same format the previous software was giving.
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay, operating system environment. I told the systems guys that look, we are going to change the operating system, but not touch the software. So the cardinal rule I negotiated as a part of
Hmm.
install that I will not modify one line of code in the package.
Okay.
Then I can do it in less than 6 months. And I did it in 150 days, and it worked.
Okay. Oh, wow.
But it was risk. It was risk. I had many arguments, many debates. I had to go to CEO's office with a very senior executive who is in charge of credit card business. And I said, no. He says, no. I am not. This software has to modify to produce customer statement the way I want our customers are saying. I said, no. Then my 180 time deadline is going to blow. Very
Hmm.
moment we touch the software, okay, to modify,
Hmm.
we all miss. So,
Hmm.
and I won every battle. Thank God. My CEO backed me up throughout. Every battle I won, but I fought a lot of battles.
Yeah.
But that gave me the greatest success because the first thing CEO did after I installed said, I'm making you in charge of that business because you know that business more than anyone else.
Hmm.
And that's how my entire knowledge in the consumer finance happened. So,
I'm just going to say everything that you explained. There are patterns or there are certain key highlights that I had, which were the risk. We were talking about the risk ability, right? That
mhm.
comes with knowledge of the subject matter, which clearly you had. But one most important thing which is stemming out, and I so badly want to say it, is that the audacity. Not everyone has the audacity of explaining what the vision is, and then also saying in a convincing manner that I take that risk and I'll prove it to you. That kind of a conviction also comes when you have the deep knowledge and believe that you will make things work. So I think those were certain traits. Correct me if I'm wrong and if I'm missing anything here.
No, you're not missing, but I just want to caution here. You're
Hmm.
not missing anything. See, there are risks you take and you have the audacity
Hmm.
that no, I will do it and don't ask me questions.
Hmm.
Okay. I wouldn't recommend that approach. Okay.
Okay.
Because I do agree the domain knowledge is necessary.
Hmm.
Okay. Or at least enough domain knowledge to take the risk.
Hmm.
Okay. The audacity is not in terms of don't ask me any question, let me do my way.
No,
Okay.
no, no. We were
It is
saying that.
not.
Yeah.
I give you an example. So
Yeah.
that might illustrate what I'm saying. I had, when I was running my own company, and I had a senior marketing executive,
Hmm.
and he wanted to run a particular marketing campaign. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, I was not under dead stress of any deadline or anything like the other project I shared with you.
Yeah. 6 months.
That person says, I know my marketing, I know what I'm doing, okay? And you let me do this project, spend this money in my marketing campaign. And it was a decent amount of money
Hmm.
for my company. And if I don't do it, deliver it, fire me, okay?
Okay.
That audacity I don't accept because I can fire you is the easy part, but the damage you done, who will fix it,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
So some people take a risk. They say, okay, let me do my way, and if you don't like it, you fire me. I wouldn't recommend that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that
No.
audacity, I think, incorrect.
Yeah.
Okay. So
So
you understand the subtle difference between the two.
yes, very thin line. What I was trying to add the adjective audacity to was the fact that there are many people who do have the subject matter knowledge. There are many organizations who trust certain people to be able to deliver in a crisis moment, but they still don't have that conviction and that belief because the time crunch. So in that moment, the person who steps up with an audacity and says that I will make it happen, that's the kind of self belief we're talking about, right?
Yes, that you are absolutely right. There are people, and you're so correct on this one. And I've seen that around in many companies. Board I sit in
Hmm.
many, so many places, that there are certain people who just does not have the self-confidence despite everyone else has a confidence in them.
Hmm.
Okay. So some people are just not risk taker even to a littlest extent. Yeah,
Hmm.
no, I don't want to be wrong type of a, and they don't have that audacity.
Hmm.
And the problem is those people, unless they have a good mentor or supporter,
Hmm.
okay, so look, you can do it. I trust you. Pull it off. They lose out a lot of opportunities.
Hmm.
Okay. So in that area, you're absolutely right. That I've come across many, many, many smart people, sometimes much smarter than me, but
Hmm.
they don't have the audacity to take risks.
Hmm.
Even it is not as much risk, but they just don't want to do it.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I'm sure
yeah.
people listening to our podcast will benefit. Whatever themes or the topics we're talking about, these are so, people can benefit so much from you. I mean, I'm just thinking that we're touching the right chords. And for one who wants to grab and learn, we'll pick cues from each and every element that we're talking about. All right. So we spoke about US and how you were involved and how you saw the systemic changes and the risk ability and appetite growth. I want to bring you back to India. I want to ask today, how bullish are you on India? And are there sectors you believe that are going to be structurally strong for the next 20 years? We could be talking about fintech, AI, manufacture, infrastructure, energy. What do you think?
You know, I'm extraordinarily bullish on young India.
All right, let's go.
Okay. No, I will be honest with you. So the young India, I mean, I spend every year almost 4 months in India,
Mm-hmm.
and I invest in India, and I've been investing in India since 2005, or 2000, almost 20 years experience. I find so refreshing
Okay.
working with young Indians. They have a value system, they have integrity, they are risk takers,
Hmm.
and they are truly, truly future of India, which I'm extraordinarily bullish.
Okay.
Okay, you ask me. It doesn't matter whether it is AI or
Hmm.
whether it's something else.
Okay.
Whether it is a space war or AI or a rocket or whatever. Young India is enthusiastic and they want to succeed. They are ambitious, but good ambition.
Hmm.
And they're not afraid of taking risks.
Hmm.
Okay. And they're not afraid of learning, and they have an incredibly different view of society when it comes to corruption, integrity,
Hmm.
hygiene, standing in line, helping older people, or whatever. I find very refreshing. And they want to excel. They want to excel. Okay. And they're taking good practice from all over the globe, just as US, but China or Japan or wherever. So future of India to me is very, very bright. As more and more these young people take the control of the government, control of the bureaucracy, control of the businesses. Uh, at the same time, I'm a little bit negative is
Hmm.
that we have too much bureaucracy,
Hmm.
micromanagement of economy to a point where I sometimes feel people spend more time filling out forms rather than building companies.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
so the one big obstacle to India's super fast growth is India itself.
Hmm.
That is the micromanagement.
Hmm.
And second thing is, and this is not with the young India, but it's up to a little bit senior India, if you ask me, where still questioning the authority is considered inappropriate.
Hmm.
So even if the boss is wrong, I cannot argue with this. Okay. Because this culture was inculcated by
I
the
was
British
going to bring the
when we
same.
left.
The way we,
Okay.
I think, do you feel like it's just, it's, that has got everything? Everything to do with the way we brought up, respect the elders, you can't really say much about it. So when you feel that disagreement or a discord, even at your workplace, you can't really say anything, right?
Yes. That young people will ask questions
Hmm.
because they're not political. They're not worried about, I will upset. They will say, this is not right, and I want to know why we're doing it.
Hmm.
They're not afraid because they are more, post freedom, and they're exposed much more globally because of some like you who went to US and educated. You saw the system elsewhere. Britishers created and Indian government continued. The
Hmm.
questioning authority is not appropriate, even
Hmm.
if authority is dead wrong.
Hmm.
Okay. So that has created yes sir attitude.
Hmm.
That has created even few years back. I used to go to board meeting, and
Hmm.
when the CEO walked in, everybody stand up like it's a classroom teacher. Walked in. So if you cannot question teacher in the class, how can you question CEO in the boardroom that you're
Yeah.
wrong? So this is the one part of India that needs to uh,
Do
do
away
away
with.
with the British legacy. You
Hmm.
know that needs to be erased. But young India will do it. I'm very confident.
I love it. I love the optimism we have in your answers that it's young India who's going to take India forward. And I like that thing that you're super bullish. All right. So I'm going to ask you, if you had to build again today, would you build in India, US, or globally from day one? Where is the focus
So,
going to be?
no, even if I to build again, for me, India is not ready. I'll be
Okay.
honest.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Because of the bureaucracy and,
Hmm.
uh, and still too many obstacles to build
Okay.
anything. Okay. So if I have an option, and I'm not asking all our Indian entrepreneurs to get out of India and build elsewhere. That's not my message here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But it is, I do say that I come across quite a few early stage startup companies in India. Fantastic people, fantastic company. But sometimes, because of the bureaucracy, sometimes the what I call irrational regulations,
Hmm.
the growth is not inhibited
Hmm.
as it should be because of the way their distraction, you know. And second criticism, one criticism I do have for Indian startup or entrepreneurs, any in general business, that please don't focus on valuation.
Okay. Okay.
Focus on building the business.
Hmm.
Have the passion for customer rather than passion for valuation.
Hmm.
If you say that if I keep building and getting more customers, valuation will fall. Rather than saying I'm going to build a high valuation and then worry about building the business.
Yeah.
Some, and I'm not saying everyone is like that, but I do come across a
Yeah.
good percentage of people, they are over worried about valuation, over
Hmm.
worried about valuation, and not as much they should worry about building the business or taking a passion for the customer or growing the customer. You know, build the business, valuation will follow.
Perfect, perfect. All right. We're moving to another segment, which is completely focusing MBA students or the students in general. So, I want to speak directly from a student's perspective. The question is, if you were doing your MBA today, what would you focus on beyond the grades?
I think grades are important, but I think I want to make sure that I understand the fundamentals of business.
Hmm.
I understand, what clicks. Those are very important.
Hmm.
And so today's MBA is a little bit more different than when I was in
Hmm.
our networking. Like, for example, I want to make sure, I'm not going to be smart everywhere,
Hmm. Hmm.
in every subject, every place. But I know who's smart and vice
Hmm.
versa. So networking skill, very important in
Very
business.
important.
Another skill is I want to learn human arbitrage. Okay.
Okay.
So what I want to say that I may not be smart, but can I hire a person smarter than me? Okay. And take advantage, even if
Hmm.
that person makes more than me, but I also make a lot of money hanging out with this person. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a very, I learned from Jewish people in America. They see a smart Indian, they immediately say, he's smarter than me. I better become a partner, junior partner with him, and let him make money. That's a no MBA will teach you that. Okay. But it's a skill that in real world is far more important
Yeah.
than trying to say I'm number one everywhere.
Yeah.
That number one and ranking model, I don't subscribe anymore. I used to. Okay. The whole ranking model, we're the third largest economy. We are the fifth largest growing economy. Who cares? Okay.
Hmm.
You know, but this is a mindset came where I'm straight A student. So what?
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
Good. We are straight A. And I want to be straight A. I'm not giving up my ambition. But
Hmm.
most important thing I want to learn is what you're not teaching me is
Hmm.
how to build a company leveraging, let's say, if I hire a CA or CPA for $100,000 a year. Now,
Hmm.
using the CPA, I develop tax strategies that saves me $300,000 a year. I got a $200,000 arbitrage to keep to myself.
Hmm.
I'm not half as, I don't know anything about C or CPA. So this is the business skills. If you look at some of our successful large industrial house,
Hmm.
okay, the largest telecom company in India, Jio, the
Hmm.
owner doesn't know the difference between 5G and 6G, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
The owner of the company can explain me technical details of difference between 5G and 6G. Tell me.
I read out.
So given that, it is those skills, identifying smart people,
Hmm.
buying them, partnering with them, becoming a junior partner, put your ego aside, put your age
Hmm.
or experience aside. So I may have much more experience in something, but
Hmm.
if I was someone who says, like Ekta is starting something,
Hmm.
on that particular thing is too smart,
Hmm.
how can I become a partner with her?
Hmm.
Other than I want to see I'm better than him, or I
Yeah.
can build. It doesn't matter. My grade was straight A and your grade was B plus, so it doesn't matter vice versa.
Hmm.
This is an area you are super A,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
want to be your understudy. So that is the skill more important in today's world. You know.
Dr. Mehta, I'm just going to say I'm getting chills, and this is like MBA 101 class sessions that we're getting from you, and we're very grateful. All right, moving on. What do young professionals overestimate early in their careers? What do you think?
Young professionals sometimes tend to be ideological,
Hmm.
and the ideology sometimes masks the reality,
Hmm.
and therefore they don't factor reality as much as they should when they want to venture something. So in the real life, it's very different. So when I read a case study that four guys in a Denny's restaurant on a paper napkins created a company that became Nvidia today, okay, and they want to be saying, wait, say, look, if we can sit in a Starbucks in Powai and in a paper napkin, if we build a business, we could be. Why can't we be in Nvidia kind of
Hmm.
a thing?
Hmm.
Now that is an ideology. Now
Yeah.
in reality, you don't know how many times Nvidia reached a point of bankruptcy before it bounced back.
Hmm.
So sometimes they build the ideas, business in their own community, work very hard, high IQ, and say, okay, sometimes they say, world needs this problem
Hmm.
solved. Okay. And then sometimes there is a solution in our search of a problem. Okay. So the hard reality is that does real people care about this as much as you care? That area they underestimate when they put together idea to build a company or
Hmm.
business.
All right. Perfect. Tell us, we're talking from MBA students' perspective.
Yes.
So, what do MBA students, underestimate when they're
Hmm.
starting out, which actually happens to compound massively over time?
Because they don't take the feedback back from the
Hmm.
data. That's remember I told you earlier,
Yeah.
ability to pivot. If you
Hmm.
saw me very early in this podcast, I told you I
Yeah.
bet on people who have the ability to pivot.
Hmm.
So yeah, I underestimated. That's fine.
Hmm.
Okay. But now the market is telling me something different. Okay. I better go draw, drawing board and redraw my plan. They
Yeah.
don't do that. Instead, they fight the market.
Yeah.
And that is where it compounds.
So, I'm going to ask you a question right here, which was not on my script, but I feel the urge to ask. How does one get to know when is the right time to pivot? When you should have fought versus when you should now pivot. What is that sweet spot?
It's not a specific point in time,
Mm-hmm.
you know, as much as it's a look. Things are tracking, but not as good as they should.
Hmm. Okay.
Why? Okay. I find the friction and see what this friction is all about.
Hmm.
And how do I remove the friction?
Okay.
Some most common question people ask me that I have this fantastic tested model, business model, whether it's an app, whether whatever it is, it can do miracles.
Hmm.
But I don't know how to grow my business.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Can you tell me how do I scale?
Hmm.
I'm having difficulty to scale it, but it works. People love it. I got so many stars and so many reviews, but I'm not able to scale it.
Hmm.
Can you help me? Now, that is a problem they themselves should help. I can't help because they know more about it. But you have to deep down look at market.
Hmm.
Why people are not buying your app as much as they should? Where is the friction?
Hmm.
Once you understand the friction, then you pivot slowly.
Got
Say,
it.
okay, this doesn't make sense. Let me slightly change and see what
Hmm.
happens. It's not
So,
like a
yeah.
90-degree pivot in one shot.
I think coming back to the same thing that you said, pay attention to the feedback, pay
Yeah.
attention to what your customer is saying instead of focusing. So it's both the things. Instead of focusing on making money early on or valuations, think about your customer, address the query, what is required. And then along the journey, the feedback that you're getting, that says enough about what your how the strength or how the growth is going to be, or whether it's the right time to make a pivot. Did I get that right?
You captured it reasonably well. Just only point I will just slightly tilt it. You should always worry about making money. Okay.
Okay.
But you
Yeah.
should
I
not
mean, you're running the company.
you should too much worry about valuation. Okay.
Got it. Okay. Hmm.
There's a subtle difference between the two that I wanted to clarify. You're not in a mission for a charitable cause, so you should worry about making money. That's
Okay.
given. However, I'm saying chase the customer rather than chasing the valuation.
Got it.
Then money will happen.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. And when the customer is not coming, then find the friction and remove
That's
the
great.
obstacles.
Hmm.
And that is in the data. That's why data science is important.
Yeah.
Your data is screaming at you, but you're
Yeah.
not looking at it because you don't know how to read your data.
Hmm. Hmm.
That is a skill a lot of people lack. What you see is everybody sees, but
Hmm.
everybody doesn't see, and you see makes the difference.
Beautiful. Beautiful. What a quote. All right. Bringing you to the last question of this segment, which I feel is the most important question right now, which is when you meet ambitious young leaders today, in your opinion, what separates the top 5% from the rest of the lot?
I think the specific top, even if you say top 5% or whatever,
Mhm.
what I have found, the people who are absolutely, for them, there is no schedule, no structure. I want to
Okay.
build this business. It doesn't matter which day of the week it is, which time of the day it is. I'm just passionate about it.
Hmm.
Or I can't fall asleep until I figure out what went wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. These are the people who are so much that it's their passion, they're enjoying it. It's not
Hmm.
that it's a stress to them. Okay. And they want to do it in an ultimate perfection. So,
Hmm.
you know, these people do build the companies. They do. And
Hmm.
I met many of those in India. And I'm very impressed about a lot of people in India. Only thing I caution young people, having ambition is good.
Hmm.
Having risk taking is a great. Even passion to build something for society, for doing good is a good idea. But you must not forget one thing is you're in business to make money. You're not missionary. You're not a missionary. I met people who want to solve the global, warming problem through
Hmm.
the app. He said, okay, if you can solve it, you would be, trillionaire next Elon Musk. But if it has nothing to do with what you're doing, but you're doing something,
Hmm.
so please don't mix up apples and oranges here. You
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
but yeah, I think fundamentally person, it's an individual and
Hmm.
observation power of an individual. So I think I got a simpler answer to your question. I'm repeating. answering your question. What I found, the people who do not miss the minute details
Got it.
and
Okay.
then have elephant memory to recall that detail, you see there
Okay.
is a contradiction. I
Hmm.
have people who have told me 10 years ago, and then say today, and I still, my, thank God, today up to now, my memory is still robust. I recall, say, no, you contradicting. Okay. That means you're not a high integrity. Okay.
Hmm.
So if you have an ability, that's why I can succeed because I can see contradiction.
Hmm.
That is
Hmm.
the so the ability to observe
Hmm.
minute detail. You know, there is a little game, and I thought it's taking a little longer. But ladies play when it's my wife's generation or whatever. That they have this kitty, and then they have this game where they put 10, 15 items on a table, and
Okay.
then they give 5 minutes to everybody, and then they remove it and say, "Remember how many items do you remember?" Right?
Okay.
Yeah. Now that game is a fantastic game to understand how many people observed and did
Hmm.
not miss any details,
Hmm.
and how many people missed so many details.
Hmm.
Same way, when someone makes a presentation to me, you know, they are on the screen how I picked the number they didn't want me to pick.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. So that power of detail,
Hmm.
power of thoroughness, contradiction, finding the contradiction. Okay, you told me it's third PowerPoint, this one, and you're telling me in the eighth slide or 10th slide, they don't match.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
those are the 5% of the people who do that and build the business or build the investment business for that matter.
Okay.
Especially this is my advice to the those who are going to be in asset management business or investment business. My advice is don't, absolutely observe the minute details that
Hmm.
you overlook. You
All right.
know,
Perfect.
I gave you, there's a Bengali movie years ago, but it is a movie built by a Bengali director. I wish you would come to me. And it's the seen and unseen. The movie about Samitra Chatterjee, and this was a 30, 50 years ago, where
Okay.
this particular person is born blind, has never seen the world,
Hmm.
just born to mother. The only thing person remember is mother's touch.
Hmm.
And how this person sees things that nobody has seen because that person has not seen anything.
Wow. Wow.
And that what says the data is like that. Seen
Hmm.
it. Person can feel the touch with the touch that this is a friendly touch, this is not a friendly touch.
Hmm. Yeah.
So this kind of observation
Really,
again.
this is such a good relation you've drawn in terms of attention to detail. That's a concept that we were talking about, which people tend to miss because everyone's either in a rush or it also says a lot about, like we're saying, right? A personality. How you do one thing is how you do everything, and that reflects in your work ultimately.